Hello and welcome to us in our Tech Bites. Today we're going to talk about the Jonsbo N2 case. This is a brand new case that just came out here in the last couple of days. And it's a pretty impressive little NAS case. It's currently retailing for $150 US and can be bought through Newegg. This is actually my buddy's case, so I don't want to take it completely apart, but unbeknownst to him, I am going to take it apart a little bit just so we can kind of see what's inside and see what makes it tick. So to start off on the front here, it does have a really nice way to access the internals, and it's actually got an included Allen key to take the sides off. It does have some filter material on the front to help keep your case clean. The hard drive cages are pretty impressive. The one thing that I have a little bit of concern about is to pull them out, you gotta use quite a bit of force, and I'm really scared about ripping the rubber here. You can finally get it moving there. The way the hard drive gets mounted inside of the case is through the 4 rubber detents on the side, and they slip into these slots here on the inside. It works pretty well, but the one thing that is a little bit concerning is as you're sliding it in, you have to push pretty hard to make sure it gets seated. The hard drive has to be flush with this front metal plate, so you kind of get to the back, and then you got to give it a nice little push to get all the plugs to plug in. As for I/O, on the front you've got a power button, you've got a USB-C plug, you've got a USB Type-3 plug, and you've got a headphone jack. That's kind of unusual on a NAS case, but I suppose if you wanted to use this as a mini ITX on your desk and plug some headphones in, that'll work well. The bottom does have a really nice rubber mat. That'll help reduce a lot of sound vibration if you put this on a hard floor or on your desk. On the back here, here's the fan I was talking about. It does have 4 thumb screws to pull the fan off, which is convenient. Not the highest quality thumb screws in the world, but they do the job, and they're also not captive, which is fine, just don't lose them. All right, so popping the fan off here, we've got our 120 by 15 fan. This is the fan that is included with the case. It is quite loud. I'll show you that in a little while, but it is at least set up in pull configuration, so it pulls air through all the hard drives, through the slots in the back plane here, through that filter grill in the front that we saw earlier. We'll pop the fan off here. Now, one of the bummers about the way this is configured, and part of the reason that it runs full speed all the time, is because this is powered directly off of these Molex connectors. So it is always going to run at full bore no matter what you do, which is unfortunate. You might be able to route the power cable through here to actually get to a fan controller on your board if you really wanted to. I'd love to see them do a jumper of some type here and right next to the fan, so you can run another cable to your motherboard and control the fan off of your motherboard. Just switch a jumper or run it full power if you wanted to. In this particular case, my friend's going to switch this to a Noctua fan, so it's a lot quieter and it can run full speed without any issues. Taking a closer look at the backplane here, we do have our 5 SATA cables that connect to the backplane for all of the hard drives. It's really important to note these have to be 90-degree SATA plugs. Jonsbo specifically states in the user manual that if you use straight SATA cables, they will not warranty it. So do the 90-degree, and then you'll route them all through this side of the case here to kind of pop them up towards your motherboard. The power is a bit unusual. Obviously, it's coming from this SF750 we have installed in this one here, but it has to route under the motherboard. So be careful where you route these. Make sure it's not getting crushed by any of the small solder connections on the back of the motherboard so they don't slowly dig in over time and create a short. That would be less than fortunate. I wish there was some type of guard or something that I could do here to kind of prevent any chafing on these cables. Switching over to the right side of the case here, you can see some of the vents. We've got the vent for the motherboard area on the top of the case, and then this is actually the vent for your power supply here. With an SF750, the fan's going to run very rarely, but it does have a vent, and it's actually really nice that there's some filtration here as well, so you can run a vacuum over that periodically whenever you need to clean it. Now, I love the way the mat looks on this case. It picks up fingerprints. I should probably be using gloves, but again, this is my friend's case, so this is his problem. All right, let's pop the lid off of this computer. So we'll grab the nice little included Allen key. There are 4 screws on 4 corners of the case. You can unscrew and pop the lid off. So we've got filters on the left and the right here, which is really nice on this one piece of aluminum extrusion that's bended over on the sides, and there's no filter on the top here. So what it looks like is that the CPU fan should provide most of the airflow for the case to keep all the motherboard and everything else cool. So air will come through the filtered sides and then come out the unfiltered top. Now, interestingly, there's no filter on this back grill here, so you might get a little dust intrusion there, but honestly, it's probably not going to be too bad. You should service your case every couple of months anyway, make sure there's no dust in it, blow it out, etc. As far as cable management and routing goes, all of the SATA cables are going to come across the left here, and the power supply bay is on the right here, so they're going to come up through the power supply bay and get routed to all the plugs on top. One of the challenges with this size of case is Mini ITX, there are not a lot of boards that have more than 4 SATA cables. This particular case is designed to up to 6 cables. So you've got the 2.5-inch hard drive here, and then you've got the 5 3.5-inch hard drives in the bay below. So in this particular case, my friend elected to do a M.2 SATA adapter to add a couple extra SATA plugs for the system to operate, and that's been working well for him. One thing you have to be cognizant of is the SATA cables do run right past your graphics card or NIC or whatever device you want to put here. So like in this particular case where there's a fan on this graphics card, you really have to make sure the SATA cables aren't going to interfere with the fan. There are a couple tie downs right here that you're welcome to use to try and keep the cables tucked below as necessary. If you're not using a PCIe device, you can probably fit another 2.5-inch hard drive right here if you wanted another one on this side as well. So the instruction manual for the case does say you can do a maximum of a 65mm high CPU cooler. This is the Noctua S2 Ghost, and it's technically 66mm high, but it's fitting just perfectly inside of this case. So definitely can say that the Noctua S2 Ghost works in this particular case. All right, let's go ahead and boot it up, and we'll show you how loud the fan is. So it's not horrible. It's definitely there. It definitely exists. It's a nice little white noise generator if you really wanted it. Okay, well that's the Jonsbo N2. It's a pretty impressive little case, I have to say. I think it's quite a bit of an upgrade over the N1. It's got a lot more accessibility, especially to the hard drives. This is a completely toolless access point to be able to get into the computer, and the inclusion of the tool if you need to work inside of it is convenient since you don't need to go grab any other tools to work on your case. Like I said before, the only major complaints I have is the cooling fan for this is fairly loud. It's not incredible. I wish it was a little bit quieter. And then I wish the pull tabs on the hard drives were a little bit stronger. I think if you have to take these out and put them in a couple of times, you'll probably eventually fatigue the rubber and they will break. I'm sure if you own a 3D printer, you could probably print something out of TPU to repair that if you needed to, or maybe Jonsbo will start selling these on their website if you need them. All in all, I'm fairly impressed with this case. I think I would definitely suggest this case for tabletop NAS use or getting your feet wet in starting a home lab. Thanks for watching, and until next time, don't get lost in the noise.